Silence is a sound. And for the last week, the silence from the major space agencies has been deafening. We were told 3-eyed Atlas was leaving. We were told the show was over. They said it was just a rock, tumbling away into the dark, harmless and uninteresting. They lied. While you were going about your life, while the news cycle was distracted by terrestrial politics, something happened in the dark. Something that has forced them to break their silence. On January 27th, just 2 days ago, NASA and the European Space Agency simultaneously released a data dump that changes everything we thought we knew about this visitor. It wasn't a coordinated press conference. It was a panic drop. A release of images and files so dense, so specific, that they clearly hope most people won't read them. But we read them. We analyzed them. And what we found is terrifying. If you're new here, you've arrived just in time. The narrative is shifting again, and this time it's not about anomalies or weird orbits. It's about confirmation. Confirmation of structure. Confirmation of intent. Before we dive in, make sure you hit that subscribe button and leave a like if you want to stay updated on what's really happening with 3-eyed Atlas. The algorithms are burying this content, so your support helps get the truth out there. Let's talk about January 22nd. According to the new reports, specifically a bulletin from Sci News and a paper by Professor Avi Loeb on January 22, 2026, 3-eyed Atlas entered a rare cosmic alignment. It passed almost directly between Earth and the Sun. The angle was 0.69 degrees. That is precision. That is a threading of the needle that happens once in a million years for a random rock. During this alignment, the object was backlit by the sun. This is the moment astronomers wait for. It's called forward scattering. It lights up every distinct particle of dust, every gas vent, every structure. It's like shining a flashlight through a sheet. You see every tear, every hole. So, they pointed the Hubble Space Telescope at it. They wanted to see the dust. But they didn't just see dust. The Hubble images, taken with the Wide Field Camera 3, show a brightness surge. The object flared up. That's expected. But the shape of the flare? That is not expected. The report states that the residuals showed a system of 4 jets. One prominent anti-tail pointing directly at the Sun and Earth. We've talked about the anti-tail before. That's the umbilical cord, the transmission beam. But it's the other 3 jets that stop your heart. Professor Loeb, in his analysis, notes that these 3 mini-jets are separated by exactly 120 degrees. 120 degrees. Look at this geometry. Think about a Mercedes-Benz logo. A perfect tripod. A perfect symmetry. Nature does not do perfect angles. Comets fracture randomly. They vent from weak spots. They don't blow out gas in a mathematically perfect triad. 120 degrees is engineering. It's stabilization. It's thrust vectoring. Loeb asks the question himself. Are the 3 mini-jets a technological signature? He's being polite. He's being scientific. But you can hear the screaming between the lines. He knows. He's telling us that this isn't a tumbling rock. It's a stabilized craft. And on January 22nd, it didn't just pass between us and the sun. It aligned itself. It turned its face to the star. It deployed its stabilizers. And it fired a burst of energy directly at us. The anti-tail, pointing to the sun, that's not exhaust. That's an uplink. It was harvesting. And here is the smoking gun. At the exact same time Hubble was watching this deployment, another set of eyes was supposed to be watching. NASA's TESS satellite, the Transiting Exoplanet Survey satellite. It's designed to stare at stars for weeks. It was perfectly positioned to record the entire event continuously. NASA's blog post from January 27th confirms that TESS was observing 3-eyed Atlas. They even released a short video of a bright moving dot. But there's a gap. Look at the timeline. The blog post casually mentions that TESS observations were temporarily interrupted from January 15th to January 18th. And then, crucially, there are missing frames right around the alignment event. They blame it on a solar panel issue. They say the spacecraft entered safe mode. Safe mode. How many times have we heard that? Every time a UFO incident happens, the cameras malfunction. The tapes get erased. The satellite goes into safe mode. TESS is one of the most reliable machines we have. And it just happened to break down exactly when 3I Atlas was performing a 120-degree thruster burn. Exactly when it was aligning with the sun. I don't believe in coincidences. Not anymore. They cut the feed. They saw the structure. They saw the mini-jets firing in that perfect triangular formation, and they pulled the plug on the public data stream. The video they released? It's low resolution. It's grainy. It shows a dot. But Hubble saw the truth. And because Hubble is partly managed by the ESA, and because scientists like Man Tahui at the Shanghai Astronomical Observatory are involved, the data leaked. The jets are not ice. They are thrusters. The object is correcting its course. It's preparing for the Jupiter rendezvous. And while NASA plays games with safe mode, Avi Loeb is sounding the alarm on a different front. He just published a new article on Medium titled A Comprehensive Network for the Discovery and Characterization of Interstellar Objects. It sounds academic. It sounds boring. It is anything but. In this manifesto, Loeb is calling for a Sison architecture. He wants a mesmerizingly expensive network of lunar interferometers and, wait for it, interceptor missions. Why the urgency? Why now? He talks about the panspermia protocol. He talks about technosignatures. He explicitly mentions that we need to be ready for a black swan event where an interstellar probe poses a threat. He's not talking about the next comet. He's talking about this one. He is proposing an architecture to catch a ship, to intercept it. He's laying out the blueprint for a planetary defense grid disguised as a discovery network. He mentions selective escalation to interceptor missions. Escalation. That is a military term. You don't escalate a scientific study. You escalate a conflict. The scientific community is preparing for a fight. They are discussing how to launch missiles. Interceptors, to chase these objects down. And 3I Atlas is the reason. The perfect 120-degree jets. The alignment with the sun. The mysterious data gap from TESS. It all points to one conclusion. On January 22nd, 3I Atlas didn't just wobble. It switched modes. It went from cruise to active. And the 3 jets? That wasn't outgassing. That was the braking burn. It's slowing down. They told us it was hyperbolic. They told us it was leaving the system at 80 kilometers per second. But if those jets are thrusters, and if they are firing against the vector of motion, then it's not leaving. It's parking. I've been digging into the anti-tail data from the Hubble release. The spectral analysis on the sun-facing jet. Most comets have tails that point away from the sun, pushed by solar wind, away from the star. This one has a tail pointing at the sun. Standard model says it's heavy dust particles left behind in the orbit, but the spectral data shows ionization. It shows highly charged particles. That's not dust. That's a particle beam. It's connecting to the sun. It's creating a circuit. And Earth, purely by chance, passed right through that circuit on January 22nd. Did you feel it? Did you have a headache that day? Did your Wi-Fi cut out? Did you see the static in the air? We were in the beam. And I think something was downloaded or uploaded. Now, we need to talk about what Sison really is. Because if you look at the locations Avi Loeb is proposing for these telescopes, they match the locations of existing missile defense sites. They aren't building a telescope network. They are upgrading the radar for a kill zone, and the target is already here. Let's go deeper into this SISON network. Most people read the headline and think, oh, good, better telescopes. They think about scientists looking at pretty pictures of galaxies. But when you actually read the proposal Professor Loeb published yesterday, the language shifts. It stops sounding like astronomy and starts sounding like strategy. He calls for a coordinated interstellar objects network. Notice the word coordinated. He divides the plan into layers: discovery, characterization, and then the final layer, interceptor missions. He writes, ISO interceptors represent the final rung in a hierarchical response ladder. A response ladder. That is military doctrine. You have the escalation ladder. You have the response spectrum. Why would you need a response ladder for a rock? A rock doesn't care if you see it. A rock doesn't react. You only need a response ladder if you are dealing with an agent, an intelligence, something that might do something back. And look at the justification he uses. He talks about the Loeb scale. This is a classification system for assessing potential threats. Threats. He is explicitly telling us that this network is not about science. It is about planetary defense. It is about identifying a black swan event, an unexpected high-impact arrival of alien technology. And he says we need this network to alert Earthlings. The mask is off. They aren't looking for microbes anymore. They are looking for the mothership. Now, let's look at the hardware. One of the key components of this SISON network is a lunar-based optical interferometer. He wants to put a massive telescope array on the moon. Why the moon? They tell us it's because there's no atmosphere. Diffraction-limited performance. Stable thermal conditions. That's true. But it's also the ultimate high ground. If you put a high-resolution imaging system on the moon, you don't just see deep space. You see the entire orbital approach vector between the Earth and the moon. You see the L2 point, where we suspect they left a probe. And crucially, a lunar base is hard to attack. It's hard to jam. They are building a watchtower on the fortress wall. And this isn't just paper talk. This aligns perfectly with the suddenly accelerated Artemis program, the rush to get back to the moon, the gateway station. They aren't going back for rocks. They are going back to build the firewall. But while they are planning for the future, they are scrambling to understand what is happening right now. There was another headline buried in the tech news this week. NASA exoplanet probe tracks interstellar. Comet 3 eye atlas to gauge its spin. Its spin. Why is NASA obsessed with the spin rate of this object? Because spin is the fingerprint of a machine. Natural objects tumble. They have complex, chaotic rotation periods. They wobble. Artificial objects spin for stability, or for gravity. The report says TESS is monitoring the light curve to determine the rotation period. They want to know if it's changing. If 3I Atlas is a comet, its spin should be constant, or changing very slowly as it loses mass. But if the spin rate changes suddenly, like it did on January 22nd, or if the spin is perfectly regular, perfectly timed, then it's artificial. And here is the dark thought. What if the 120-degree jets we saw weren't just for course correction? What if they were spin thrusters? What if the object is spinning up? Imagine a centrifuge. As it spins faster, it generates gravity. It deploys solar sails. It opens up. Maybe 3I Atlas was closed up tight while it traveled through the void. A cold, dark needle to survive the impact of interstellar dust. But now it's here. It's in the warm zone. It's near the sun. And it's beginning to unfurl. If the spin rate is increasing, TESS would see it. The light curve would become a strobe light. And maybe that's why they cut the feed. Maybe the bright moving dot on the video wasn't just moving. Maybe it was pulsing at a frequency that isn't natural. We have reports from amateur radio operators who track the hiss of Jupiter. They listen to the background static of the solar system. On the days TESS went dark, the background noise changed. There was a rhythm. It wasn't a signal from the comet. It was the sound of the comet interacting with the solar wind, like a propeller chopping through water. The object is big, bigger than they told us. And if it's spinning, if it's creating a magnetic wake, it's acting like a dynamo. It's generating power. So, let's put the pieces together. Piece 1. The object aligns with the sun and fires thrusters in a perfect engineering triangle. Piece 2. NASA cuts the live feed from its best observation satellite during the event. Piece 3. Avi Loeb publishes a manifesto calling for interceptor missiles and a threat assessment grid. Piece 4. They are frantically measuring the spin rate to see if the machine is waking up. And where is it going next? Jupiter. We keep coming back to Jupiter. The date is set, March 16th, 2026. If Sison is the response ladder, then what is the interceptor? We know there are black budget programs. We know about the X-37B spaceplane. We know about Rod from God, kinetic weapons. But you can't shoot a rod at a comet moving at 80 kilometers per second. You need something faster. You need a directed energy weapon, or a nuclear pulse drive. Loeb mentions rapid response. He mentions escalation. What if the interceptor isn't a ship we are going to build in 10 years? What if the interceptor is already out there? What if we have assets we don't know about waiting in the dark? There is a rumor, unconfirmed, but persistent, that the Comet interceptor mission by ESA, which is officially still in the planning phase, has a shadow component, a precursor probe. Maybe waiting for a target at L2 wasn't a passive statement. Maybe the trap is already set, and 3I Atlas knows it. That's why it's spinning up. That's why it's maneuvering. It's taking evasive action. It saw the trap at Earth. It saw the forward scattering attempt to scan its hull, and now it's running for the shield of Jupiter. The game of cat and mouse has begun. But in deep space, there is no stealth. Everyone sees everyone. And the fact that NASA is releasing any of this data, even the grainy videos, even the academic papers, means they are scared. They are crowdfunding the analysis. They are desperate for eyes. They are essentially saying, look at this. Tell us we're wrong. Please. Tell us it's just a rock. But the data doesn't lie. The geometry doesn't lie. 120 degrees. That number is going to haunt us. If you're finding this information valuable, please hit the like button and share this video. We need as many eyes on this as possible. But there is a detail everyone missed. The third jet, the faintest one. Loeb said it was hidden in an unfavorable orientation. But look at this. I enhanced the image. I ran the contrast filters. It's not faint because it's hidden. It's faint because it's damaged. And if it's damaged, that means something hit it. Did we already take a shot? The war might have started before we even knew we were fighting. Let's focus on that third jet. The broken limb. Professor Loeb's report was very specific. He described 3 mini-jets, separated by 120 degrees. 2 were bright, 1 was faint. He suggests it might be hidden by the angle. But geometry doesn't work like that when you have a 120-degree separation and you are viewing it from Earth during a solar alignment. We should have seen it. If it's faint, it's because it's weak. This changes the profile of 3I Atlas completely. We aren't looking at an immaculate, invincible alien cruiser. We are looking at a ship that is limping. The wobble we tracked back in December, the oscillation, that wasn't just a scan. That was instability. Something happened to this object before it got here. Maybe it crossed the void for 1,000,000 years, and the journey took its toll. Or maybe Maybe it encountered something else at the edge of our system. And now, as it burns for Jupiter, it's firing on 2 cylinders instead of 3. This explains the desperation. This explains why it risked the solar alignment maneuver. It needed the energy. It needed to tap the sun, even if it meant revealing its position to every telescope on Earth. It's desperate. And a desperate animal is dangerous. Now, look at the reaction from our side. The Sison paper. The casual mention of interceptors. If the government knows the object is damaged, the calculus changes. Retrieval becomes possible. You don't just watch it fly by. You try to bring it down. Or board it. There is a concept in military strategy called access denial. If you can't have the asset, you make sure no one else can. Is that what the interceptor talk is really about? They aren't building a rescue ship. They are building a vulture. And this brings us to the electronic warfare angle. Go back to the TESS outage. NASA says safe mode due to a solar panel issue. But TESS is an exoplanet hunter. It is built to stare at bright stars. It is hardened against radiation. Why would it fail exactly when Atlas pointed its anti-tail beam at the sun, unless the beam wasn't just light? What if the uplink we discussed earlier caused a massive electromagnetic surge, a localized EMP? The object fired a burst to the sun, and TESS, sitting nearby in orbit, got fried by the side lobe. Its sensors were blinded. Its computer reset. That wasn't a glitch. That was collateral damage. We just took our first hit, and NASA is covering it up as a panel issue. Think about the implications. If 3i Atlas can knock out a hardened NASA satellite just by turning on its radio, what happens when it gets to Jupiter? Jupiter has a magnetosphere 20,000 times stronger than Earth's. It is a natural particle accelerator. It is the biggest battery in the solar system. If the object is heading there to recharge, if it plugs into that socket, the surge won't just blind a satellite. It will scream across the entire spectrum. We are talking about a signal that could fry the deep space network. A signal that could be heard in another galaxy. Or a signal that wakes something up. There is a reason we are scared of March 16th. The interceptor missions Loeb talks about, he says they depend on warning time and orbit geometry. He says they are for exceptional cases. Well, this is the exception, but there is something hidden in the footnotes of his paper. A mention of lunar interferometry being part of the Artemis program. Do you remember what Artemis is? It's the US program to put boots on the moon, but it's also a way to militarize cislunar space. If they put an interferometer on the moon, yes, they can see the comet, but they can also target it. A laser interferometer can be reversed. It can be a designator. They are setting up a firing solution from the moon because they know they can't catch it with a rocket. It's too fast. But light? Light is fast enough. If they fire a high-powered laser from the lunar surface aimed at the damaged third jet, they could destabilize the object completely. They could force it to crash. Crash where? Into Jupiter. And suddenly, Putin's joke makes perfect sense. We'll send it to Jupiter. Maybe it wasn't a joke about a destination. Maybe it was a joke about a burial ground. If they crash it into the gas giant, the evidence is gone. The threat is gone, and the technology is lost forever in the crushing pressure of the deep atmosphere. It's the ultimate cover-up. But 3i Atlas isn't stupid. It sees the forward scattering. It sees the interceptor rhetoric. It sees the sudden launch of classified payloads by SpaceX and China. It knows it is being hunted. And that is why the mini-jets are so terrifying. 120 degrees. Stable configuration. It is preparing for combat maneuvers. It is clearing its firing arcs. In the final part of this breakdown, I'm going to tell you what to look for in the next 48 hours. The data dump from NASA wasn't complete. There are files missing from the archive, But the file names were left in the index, and the names of those missing files, they tell a story all on their own. Spectrogram underscore anomaly underscore high underscore frequency. Trajectory underscore correction underscore delta underscore V underscore unaccounted. And the scariest one, target underscore lock underscore confirmation. Who is locking onto whom? Are we locking onto the comet? Or is the comet locking onto us? The Hubble image shows the anti-tail pointing at Earth. It's looking right down the barrel. We are not the observers anymore. We are the target. If you haven't already, subscribe and turn on notifications. This story is far from over, and you need to be here for what comes next. Now, look at this trajectory map. This is what they don't want you to see. It proves it's not leaving. It's circling back. They lied about the exit vector. The 120-degree burn wasn't an escape burn. It was a U-turn. And here's the proof. When you look at the vector diagrams included in the supplementary material of the ESA dump, the files they didn't put in the press release, you see the arrows. NASA told us Atlas was on a hyperbolic trajectory. That means it comes in, swings around the sun, and shoots out into deep space, never to return. A one-way trip. But a hyperbolic trajectory relies on momentum. It relies on the object being a dead weight, flung by gravity. On January 22nd, when those 3 mini-jets fired, the momentum changed. The trajectory underscore correction, underscore delta, underscore V, underscore unaccounted. File confirms it. Delta V means change in velocity. Unaccounted means gravity didn't do it. The object applied the brakes. It didn't stop. You can't stop instantly in space, but it changed its curve. It is no longer heading for the Hyades cluster. It is no longer leaving the solar system. It is entering a high eccentricity capture orbit. It is staying. And the aphelion, the furthest point of this new orbit, is Jupiter. It is going to park at Jupiter. It is going to circle the king of planets, using its massive magnetic field as a shield, as a power source, as a base of operations. This is why Avi Loeb is suddenly talking about interstellar object interceptors. This is why there is a rush to build SISUN. They aren't building a network to catch future visitors. They are building a siege engine to deal with the squatter in our backyard. They know it's not leaving. They know we are now sharing our solar system with a Type 2 civilization probe. And they are terrified because of the target underscore lock underscore confirmation. Let's talk about that file. Who locked onto whom? If it was our radar locking onto the comet, the file would be called radar underscore lock, or tracking underscore acquired. Target underscore lock is a weapon system status. Did we try to lock a weapon onto it? Maybe that classified payload on the X-37B? And did the TESS blackout happen because the comet fought back? Or did we intercept a signal from the comet itself? Did we decode a data packet that showed its targeting reticle? And what was in the crosshairs? Was it Earth? Was it the sun? Or was it everything? The 120-degree configuration suggests a wide-angle dispersion. If it released something, dust, nanobots, sensors, it sprayed them in a perfect pattern to cover the maximum volume of space. We are already inside the cloud. Remember the golden glow. Remember the complex organic signatures? We are breathing the exhaust of an alien engine that just shifted gears. So, what happens next? March 16th, 2026. The Jupiter rendezvous. This is no longer a flyby. This is orbital insertion. When 3I- Atlas reaches Jupiter, it will fire those jets again. It will circularize its orbit, and it will go dark. It will hide in the radiation belts where our sensors are blind. And from there, it will watch, or it will build. Loeb's proposal for a lunar optical interferometer is the only way to see through the glare. He wants to build a spyglass on the moon to watch the enemy base at Jupiter. It's the Cold War all over again. But the Iron Curtain is 600 million kilometers away. I need you to listen to me very carefully. The mainstream media will stop reporting on this. They will tell you, Comet 3. Atlas has faded from view. They will tell you, it is safely on its way out. They are managing the panic. But you have the data. You have the papers. You know about the 120-degree jets. You know about the 0.6 9-degree alignment. You know about the spin rate acceleration. You know it's a machine. And now, you know it's staying. I will continue to monitor the frequencies. I will continue to dig through the raw server logs of the ESA and NASA. If they launch an interceptor, even secretly, I will find the launch signature. If the target_lock activates, we will see the flash. We are not alone in this system anymore. The landlord has arrived, and he's moving into the penthouse at Jupiter. Prepare accordingly. Check your emergency supplies. Back up your data. Keep an eye on the sun. The silence is over. The noise is just beginning. And one more thing. That golden glow we talked about, the one from January 22nd, people are reporting seeing it again. Tonight, right now. But three-eyed Atlas is supposed to be millions of kilometers away. So what's glowing in our sky? This is 3 Atlas Watch. Stay alert.